Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The ethnographical region of Balochistan is divided between three countries, namely Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan, with Pakistan controlling the most and Afghanistan controlling the least share. And this raises the obvious question, why is Balochistan even divided in the first place? So the entire region of Balochistan, as we know it today, wasn't really a country on its own with a single ruler, but was rather divided between tribal chiefs. Historically, this region was a zone of rivalry between the Mughal and Safavid spheres of influence, and it was divided between the two. Much of what is now Iranian-controlled Balochistan was conquered by Shah Ismail, the first Safavid ruler in the 16th century. Fast forward to the second half of the 19th century, and the British Raj decided to define its border with Iran. In 1871, the representatives from both sides met and the border was drawn. Today, this line still exists as the pointy curve on Pakistan's western border with Iran. However, there was one problem with the border, and the problem was that it existed only on paper, not in reality. The demarcation began in 1895, and pillars were used in the process. The whole idea was just to let both sides know where their territories ended, and travel was still not as hard as it is today. In 1905, there were some minor changes, and in 1947, the British Raj ended and was succeeded by two dominions named India and Pakistan. In 1958, Pakistan and Iran held a meeting, and the final border was decided and demarcated. Fast forward to 2011, Iran began fencing its border with Pakistan, and nearly 10 years later, in 2021, Pakistan also started the same thing on its own side. As for Afghanistan, the whole story goes back to a controversial person known for his controversial actions, Amir Abdurrahman Khan. As we all know, he signed the Durand Line Agreement in the 19th century with the British Raj. This agreement divided the homelands of the Pashtuns as well as the Baloch between the British Raj and Afghanistan. The part of the Raj later became Pakistan. So indeed, some sort of controversy does exist on how the Pashtun areas were separated by the Durand Line, but you might be wondering whether the same goes for Balochistan's Pashtun areas. Well, fun fact, no. You might ask why. The answer is just one man, Mir Nuri Nasir Khan of Kalat. He started off as a bitter rival of the Afghans, but in the end became their close friend. He assisted the Afghans against the Marathas during the Third Battle of Panipat, as well as against the Sikhs during their revolts in Punjab province. As a result, Ahmad Shah Durrani, the ruler of Afghanistan, gifted him the city of Quetta with its surroundings, and these areas were Pashtun majority and became a rightful part of the Khanate of Kalat from that day onwards. Later, after his death, the British annexed Kalat, and in 1947, Kalat became part of Pakistan. So no real controversy exists on Balochistan's Pashtun areas. In the second decade of the 21st century, Pakistan began fencing its border with Afghanistan, and that separates the three parts of Balochistan from each other, namely the fences. So you might wonder why the whole thing happened. So to oversimplify it all, colonial era borders are the reason why Balochistan is divided between three countries. But that's not the only reason, also because there are some historical as well as political factors mentioned in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and a special thanks to the acknowledgements you can see on my screen.